Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Oz is spinning on the ones and twos. I don't know if he's got his overalls on tonight. I didn't see it, fam, but maybe we can get a check on that, see if he's overall friendly today. We don't know. Johnny's hanging on out, making sure everything works as well. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining on back. Of course, Trey Wright fam, first one in the door, and the Rokfin says, howdy, mates.
Howdy, Trey.
Love Trey. And 3-chord grifter is here as well. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. And Yona and Wody is here as well. Guys, we've been getting killed with the censorship on Twitter, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. Please do us a favor, hit the like button and share. You can't hit the dislike button anymore, but I guess you can hit it, fam. But now they're, because Joe Biden got so many dislikes, I guess they just did away with the dislike button anymore. That really is like backdoor censorship, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's censorship as much as like protection for the predator class and the politicians. Like it's more of a protection from people seeing how awful they are and how people don't like them. We can still post, you can still show your disdain in other ways, but like they're protected. So now you don't see how unpopular Joe Biden is, which I think is wrong. Yeah.
I look at it as a way of like backdoor censorship. You know what I'm saying? It's a little trick they can play and stuff like that. Because you should understand how the public was feeling about these people through their speeches, whatnot. And you'd see so many more dislikes than likes. And that would make people more like, okay, I can express myself. I'm not put in this little box and this little, because remember in the beginning of the Trump presidency, the way they just shut everybody up, they shamed everybody to be silent. That's kind of what's like now that you see more people saying, let's go, Brandon. Give the thumbs down. They can say, well, I can say the same thing. I can express what's on my minds. But anyways, it is what it is. Also, look at this right now. Somebody else just coming right back on in. Reeve Barker, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Hey, guys, on the YouTube, a lot of times they change the settings. So if you want to go down to the settings and you can see my beautiful face in 720, you can do that. Just change it to 720 or the 1080 way, but I look much better in 720 than I do in 480. Ain't that right, Oz? Thank you. All right, 720p. Let's get started. We have a fun show for you guys today. A lot of things going on. The first part of the show, fam, this is kind of, at one point we covered the Epstein saga very closely. I had known friends that were actually, what do you call them? Corrections officers at the facilities where Jeffrey Epstein was supposedly staying before he was checking in and out. I lived in South Florida. I hung out there for quite some time. There was the West Palm Beach mansion over there, as well as a lot of taking off from this area, kind of going to Epstein Island. So, we'd known about him, we'd heard about him, and whatnot. So it was a little bit personal to me. Covering this case, though, I started getting very bad nightmares, have a hard time sleeping. But more than anything, I realized very shortly out of the gate that this day was coming, meaning that this trial right here was coming. I thought it would be the Jeffrey Epstein trial, but it turned out, he hung himself. And now it's all being played through Ghislaine Maxwell. But I put this up here to give a little example of what I think is going on, because it really does hurt inside, because no matter what, and I put a lot of this on the public, a lot of this not just on the leftist progressives that we go on that would just go crazy over the Kyle Rittenhouse case, but won't pay attention to this case. And this case is far more important. But I put down what this is all about. The mainstream media and the ruling class have been performing one of their greatest pieces to date. It's the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And this Fugazi clown show is being performed solely for the purpose of duping the people. It's being sold as an American justice system holding the two most evil pedophiles of our time accountable for their heinous acts on underage girls. But is this what the Epstein scandal is really about? Hell no. If you've been following Epstein for the past years, you know that his ties and connections are more than just a few bad apples with disgusting habits. It's about the biggest names throughout our society of what can only be a global ring of ruling elites who used our children as currency, fam. And I just want to get your thoughts on that, because as we're seeing this played out, this case is not really what it's all about, right? That's why I titled this section, What Not to Expect from the Ghislaine Maxwell Trial, because we're not going to get what we really should get as a society.
Well, first of all, you sound like a right winger conspiracy theorist, Pasta.
Ah,
But it
Jesus.
turns out those people are right in terms of this being a huge case in regard to child sex trafficking. For me, it's a little bit more than that. It's about the idea that there are a group of people that are extremely powerful that not so much sit around the same exact table at the same exact time conspiring against the working class, but actually run in the same circles naturally. And it's a state of natural development. The 1%, they run in the same circles, and so they have this whole these interests that they hold, and they know that there's too many people that are in the way of that. And so what they're doing is they help each other out, they help each other cover each other's bullshit and their crimes. And there is a two-tiered system in society where if you're wealthy and if you're powerful, because power is oftentimes more vital to these people than money. And if you're powerful enough, you can create money, you can create a person, you can create an identity, and you can pretty much be surpassing the law. The law does not apply to the poor or the working class or the 99% in the same way that it applies to people like Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, and all of the people that they have been named in terms of Clinton, Trump, Prince Andrew, and you talk about several celebrities, and just because somebody's in the picture with them doesn't necessarily mean that they knew who he was, that they were that involved or anything like that. But in terms of the logs and everything we've learned thus far, that holds a little bit more weight. And you're right. I don't think we're going to see justice come to serve because the people holding out the justice show are also involved in this. So it's kind of like, the bank robbers holding a trial for a fellow bank robber. It's like the police policing themselves. It just doesn't work. So
yeah, you hit it on the nose. Well, I got two questions over here, fam. And the first one was, why is this trial so important? And more importantly, why isn't the trial getting 1/12 the attention as the Rittenhouse case? I just want to say really quick, and I'll ask you the second part of that question. You can jump off. But the reason why this case is so important, remember at one point I was watching and playing a clip for the Duran, and I think it was one of the hosts said, this is like one of the most important cases ever. This is like the window of humanity, what we're going through, who's ruling us, what's happening. This shows who the elites and the ruling class really is. And I feel that way, and equally. I mean, do I think it's the most important case of our time? No, but it should be up there because of the connections that Jeffrey Epstein had, mainly with people like Bill Gates and the transhumanism and the money and the fact that we've never really even seen what's going on inside the New Mexico Zorro Ranch. And we now have confirmation from testimonies from people saying that the Clintons used to hang out there, whatnot, that even the New York Times posted that transhumanism was being practiced there. This really goes all the way to the top within our society. And that's why I think it's so important. But furthermore, fam, why isn't this case getting 1/12 the attention that the Rittenhouse case got?
Well, yeah, this trial is extremely, that it right there, Bill Gates. I've been looking a lot more into Bill Gates and the fact that he is tied to so many of just the fourth industrial revolution, everything about, what's going on with Pfizer and the vaccine and all of that. Bill Gates has his claws in them. So it's the elites, the 1%, the very powerful people in our society. That's why this is so important, because those facets attach themselves to everything else. And the reason this isn't having the same type of weight, it's because number one, it's not being talked about by mainstream media, and they drive the propaganda narrative. In the Rittenhouse case, constantly it was pushed in front of us because it is extremely useful to the predator class for division. You can use the whole, this is a race war happening right now. This is why Rittenhouse was a white supremacist. He represents white supremacy when he killed white people. So that doesn't add up. Obviously, he was he took the side of the police, which is true. But it's this whole idea that you have the easily divisive narrative there to exploit. They can't do that in this case because why? Because they kind of focused on the people who have made this case a child sex trafficking case being more on the right or trying to frame it like it's only the Clintons, when in reality, we know that Trump and Clinton were both named and likely involved in some form or another. There are people on the left and the right, or liberal and Republican, that are involved. There's people from the UK. There's people from all over the world governments. So this is not a partisan issue. But in the media, depending on who's covering it, whether it's Fox or MSNBC, it's covered as a partisan issue. So it's just kind of like, oh, this case is a little bit too conspiratorial for so many to cover. And that's why I don't think it's getting the attention, because they can't really exploit it. Because if they were to tell the truth about this whole case, everybody would go under, and they can't allow that.
You know, I have to agree with you that it is about the mainstream media kind of pushing their narrative, whatnot. Obviously, the mainstream media is tied to all these powerful ruling class elites of sorts, what we like to call the predator class. And this is a great example of why we call them the predator class, what they did to these children at the time. But I also have to say, fam, I think there is something within the progressives' DNA that lacks nuance, you know what I'm saying, that they have that, oh my God, emotional left kind of mentality, that so many things on the surface kind of make them concentrate in those areas rather than go down the rabbit holes and understand what's going on with these situations, how the powerful and elite were so tied to Jeffrey Epstein via Ghislaine Maxwell, who is now on trial there. So I think there is something with the progressive DNA that they have to get past. We talk about it all the time, the lack of understanding foreign policy and understanding how that our foreign policy is probably one of the most racist policies that America, goes through with. You know, what we do to Latin America is disgusting. What we do in the Middle East is disgusting. And these are people of color that are getting bombed in their own land. The second part of the question is, and also too, I want to piggyback to Trump when we get a second, because there have been some comments that people have said that, like, well, you know, you guys just throw Trump out there without any really connections, whatnot. It's not fair to do so. He's in a different situation than Bill Clinton. And like you just said before, just because they're in the picture doesn't mean they're not necessarily guilty. But if Donald Trump were to say, hey, listen, I have nothing to hide, I will gladly step up and testify if I'm called upon, and he did testify or even just said that, what would that mean towards the other people who are kind of hiding, like the Clintons and like Bill Gates and whatnot? I mean, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein, but not a lot of solid evidence tying him to the pedophilia or being on the island differently than Bill Clinton was. Do you have any thoughts on that particular situation when it comes to Donald Trump?
I mean, Donald Trump has accusations of I don't know what that noise is, but it's striking, of like 13-year-old accusing him of harassment and rape. I mean, he has other accusations. I just wouldn't necessarily agree with you and say that there's not enough. I just say, like, it's not as strong as what has been laid upon for Clinton. And I don't want to focus on that either, because I think at the end of the day, we're not really going to know, like I said, because the powerful people are going to protect the powerful, and Donald Trump is a powerful person. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I think focusing on that kind of loses point of the fact that that these people in general who have money and have power are going to get away with it, period.
If there were real justice, how would the prosecutors how would they approach the trial? And who should be called on the witness stand? As we said, I think we made it clear, and we're going to play the little clip right now from Chris Hedges talking about all the people who will never, ever go, spend one day on the witness stand. But my personal opinion is that's how the case should be handled. It should be going into, okay, now we have a probable cause to call all these people on the stand, from Wex Lexner to Bill Richardson to Bill Clinton to Donald Trump to Bill Gates, to everybody involved. And obviously, we're not going to see that. You know what I'm saying? Do you have any other thoughts on that real quick before we play the Mr.
No,
Matthews? Okay. Yep.
No, let's just go ahead and play.
Let's get into it. Let's play this clip over here. Chris Hedges, man. Did he light it up? This was filmed by John F. O'Donnell. What's up, John? Great clip over here. Take a look at this, fam. He just starts blasting people.
Obstacles that society has placed before them in their pursuit of justice. The trial of Ghislaine Maxwell will not hold to account powerful and wealthy men who are complicit in these assaults. Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dubin, former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, former Secretary of the Treasury, and former President of Harvard, Larry Summers, Steven Pinker, Prince Andrew, Alan Dershowitz, Les Wexner, the billionaire CEO of Victoria's Secret and Limited Stores, J.P. Morgan banker Jess Staley, former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, real estate mogul Mort Zuckerman, former Maine Senator George Mitchell, Harvey Weinstein, and many others.
He just named them all, fam. All these people, they have a right to put them on the stand and question them. They were all involved. There were witnesses. There's accusations. There's connections left and right. This is what this particular trial should be about, but it's not. And I mean, he named them all, fam, all of them. Any thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. They should all be named. They should all be held accountable. Those are all extremely powerful people, likely not to happen.
Yeah, not one of them of those people are going to take the stands. However, fam, we got some news from the Daily Mail. We going to get the butler is going to take the stand over here. Epstein's housekeeper testified that he cleaned up large dildos and vibrators after massages and found porn tapes and black leather costume in Ghislaine Maxwell's bathroom. So that's what they're going to make this shit about, fam. You know what I'm saying? They're going to try to demonize and say it's just about these two people rather than go into the crux of what's going on. And I think that's why those people were going crazy as Mr. Hedges was reading off those names, because there's some of us out there understand what this is about and how they're going to be duping the public. And you can't count on the mainstream media to say anything or ask any tough questions. I mean, their reporting on this is so little compared to what they did in the Rittenhouse case. Jeffrey Epstein's housekeeper, Juana Lessie, took the stand Thursday in day 4 of the Ghislaine Maxwell sex trafficking trial. If you just go down to a couple things, he talks about the relationship in 1991, that it became less cordial and more professional. From the day she came to the house, she right away took over, meaning Ghislaine Maxwell. She mentioned she was going to be the lady of the house, he said. Alessi said he found a large dildo and vibrators while cleaning up after the late financier's massages. Alessi said he saw pornographic tapes and black leather costumes in a basket in Ghislaine Maxwell's bathroom. So, fam, they're still going to concentrate on this shit. They're going to try to make ties with everybody involved there. They're going to go after the little people, right? So they can dupe the public into thinking that what this case is about, which is an isolated case with some bad apples and not a giant global sex ring involving the most dangerous people on the planet. The next part, did you have anything to say on that or no?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so there's been one gentleman out there who's been doing some great coverage out there. It's one Addy Ads. I just want to play 2 clips. He's been really getting his butt out there. Boots on the ground, fam. We know what it's like. We really appreciate that. But this is the first testimony. I just want to pay attention to the 2 testimonies, the 2 days of testimony when it comes to Mr. Alessi, because then you'll see exactly what the prosecution is doing. The prosecution isn't doing what, and keep repeating this, they're not doing what they should be doing. They're doing, this whole little clown show. So here is one Addy Ads talking about the first testimony of Mr. Alessi, the house manager for Epstein from 1990 to 2002.
What's up, folks? Addy Ads here, right outside the District Courthouse, Southern District, New York City, New York. And second half of the day saw a new witness, Mr. Alessi, house manager and driver for Jeffrey Epstein from 1990 to 2002. And recall that Epstein was first arrested about 5 or 6 years after that and charged. So he got out long before Epstein officially got in trouble for these operations. And he testified to many things today. meaning Jane, circa 1994, seeing Jane get on a plane with Epstein, with Maxwell, testified to seeing Virginia Roberts, appearing about 14 or 15 years old at the time, on one of these trips that Ghislaine Maxwell would go on, hunting for nubiles or looking for nubiles or young ladies who just had their menarche, girls who just had their menarche, right? And pretty repulsive stuff there, but testified to names like Emmy Taylor and Gwendolyn Beck as girls being also at the house of Epstein, and secretaries, quote unquote, such as Fiona and Kimberly only identified by their first name. But again, Mr. Alessi was told to stop driving once Ghislaine Maxwell saw this attractive-looking young blonde lady who turned out to be, in fact, Virginia Roberts, and they showed pictures, exhibits of Miss Roberts' face to verify that in fact, was the same person that Mr. Alessi saw. And as well, 3 times a day, the massages that Epstein would get, morning, afternoon, and night massages coming after their movie sessions that they would often have, and with a different person every single time. And interesting part here, because during this examination from the prosecution, they asked about is Sarah Kellen's name in the book, but Judge Nathan, for some reason, sustained an objection to that. It went into sidebar, and then nothing. They kind of seem to change the subjects after that. So see if Sarah Kellen's name comes up again, hoping that it does. But more to come soon. Stay frosty, and we'll see everybody.
Fam, there are some positive things about these testimonies and some things that are going on here that I want to highlight. It is putting the girls in the positions and the places they were in, so that's kind of confirming that they can't weasel their way out of, including Virginia Roberts, whatnot. Even kind of the energy of, oh, stop the car, let me run out and go get this girl so I can get her to groom for the multiple massages that Jeffrey Epstein needs. And I think that is a positive thing. But then all of a sudden the next day, you'll see the defense kind of like, they'll pivot a little bit more with the prosecution over here to what they're really trying to do. Take a look at this next clip, because the next clip real quick just talks about the next day Mr. Alessi was on the stand. So check it out.
What's up, folks? Addy Ads here outside the Southern District of New York Courthouse here in New York City, New York, for day 5 of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And this morning, we saw Juan Alessi on the stand, once again, house manager, chauffeur for Jeffrey Epstein. And the defense were questioning Mr. Alessi pretty aggressively. He was getting visibly annoyed, even crossing his arms at one point. And several questions about who actually did the recruiting for the masseuse appointments and for the massages. He denied going to the spas to recruit massage therapists, saying we went to the most exclusive spas in country clubs, denied getting referrals from other people for massage therapists, denied at all recruiting masseuses, answering never. It seems they are trying to shift the blame to Alessi, and the rats maybe are eating each other, perhaps. He said, I never made a call suggesting to therapists to come to the house. I never had the authority to call myself or get an appointment. That was my job, sir. That was something he pointed out too. He was calling it a mandate and not a secret. For example, that he was ordered by Epstein to take down pictures of Maxwell, often nude pictures, from the house when men would come over to the house, saying he was not in some sort of secret agreement with Epstein, simply doing what he was told. As I mentioned, he seemed to be getting visibly peeved and seemed very relieved when he was off the stand at the end of the session. And towards the end of the session, the defense asked him outright, that doesn't make you guilty of sex trafficking, does it, sir? Objection came from the prosecution, as one would expect, and that was sustained by Judge Nathan. That question did get a visible, a phonic reaction from people in the courtroom. Furthermore, very relevant, he denied ever hearing anybody complain to him, saying, no, they never did, but I wish they would have, because I would have done something. And the second half saw Gregory Parkinson, retired police officer, simply describing the house at 358 El Brio Way. Stay frosty, more updates to come. Addy Ads.
Okay. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to find more patsies, right? That's exactly what's going on in this dog and pony show right now. They're trying to shift the blame to Epstein's inner circle, right? It's keep away the names from all the big guys. Keep it off of Trump, keep it off of Gates, keep it off of Clinton, Dubin, all that right now. Let's find more patsies right here. So therefore the public will digest this shit and will think this is once again just bad apples doing bad apple things, fam. Any thoughts on that?
No, it's just makes sense, right? They're not going to really let this get to the big honchos. They're not. So this is exactly where I think we thought they would go.
It's sad too, as well. It really is sad seeing this trial go like this, seeing where they're concentrating on what they're trying to doing and the people who will not be held accountable. So just really quickly to go over who has testified so far. 4 of the alleged victims are expected to testify, as are their relatives and Epstein's former employees, along with expert witnesses. The first day of the trial saw Epstein's longtime pilot, Larry Vysotsky, take the stand, describing the pedophile financier's so-called Lolita Express flights. Once again, the positive thing, putting the people in the places and on the flights when they were involved, but not enough to say that, he saw any bad activity or serious activity that can really open it up to the public. While Vysotsky, said he never saw any sexual activity, like we said, he testified that U.S. former President Bill Clinton, British Royal Prince Andrew, and Donald Trump, among others, flew on Epstein's private planes. The prosecutors have said that the abuse occurred at a number of Epstein's homes, including the estate in Palm Beach, Florida, his posh Manhattan townhouse, a ranch in Santa Fe, New Mexico, a Paris apartment, and a luxury estate in the Virgin Islands. During this testimony, Vysotsky said it was not unusual for Maxwell to sit with him in the cockpit. He also recalled flying Virginia Roberts, putting her there as well, which is a good thing, who was accused both Epstein and Prince Andrew of abuse. The first of 4 accusers identified only by pseudonym. Help me out, fam. Pseudonym.
You said it right. Yeah.
Yeah. Jane provided a graphic testimony about being forced to have sex with Epstein when she was 14, 15, and 16. She noted that Maxwell and others were involved at times, adding Maxwell would instruct her on how Epstein liked to be massaged. Jane said she traveled with Maxwell and Epstein about 10 times between Florida, Manhattan, and New Mexico. Epstein's driver and butler, Juan Alessi, has also testified to Maxwell's instructing him to bring both Jane and Roberts to Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. So that's so far what we have who's testified. And, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse over here because it's just sad what this is about. Who's also expected to testify? I'm sure we'd like to see some of those names that Chris Hedges mentioned on the list. None of them are on the list, fam. Surprise, surprise. Besides Jane's, 3 other alleged underage victims are expected to take the stand during the trial, while 2 will do so under the anonymity, going by pseudonym names. Kate and Carolyn. Accuser Annie Farmer has already publicly identified herself and said Epstein abused her at his New Mexico ranch in 1996. That's how long this shit has been going on for, if not longer. According to the incident against Maxwell, she is alleged to have encouraged Pharma, known as a minor victim too, to give Epstein foot rubs and massages. She was the groomer. Everybody knows this. There are a number of expert witnesses who could prove to Keyes Maxwell's defense, namely that accusers have memories that are untrustworthy, uncorroborated, and unreliable. So that's what's going to happen again. They're going to try to say that these people's testimonies have changed over the years. Their statements have changed. They're unreliable. I'm sure they'll go. A lot of times, fam, Epstein would target disturbed women. You know what I'm saying? Women from broken homes, poor women, whatnot, that he could take advantage of. Well, they're going to use all that information in their past against these victims to try to thwart their testimony to get Maxwell a free pass. I mean, the mainstream media has even played the whole situation as like, this is a classic case of Adam and Eve. Look at the way they blame Eve for what Adam did. Why are they doing this to women? This is common they brought identity politics into it as well, fam, is what I'm trying to say. They're using every trick in the book to kind of try to mislead the public. The defense team reportedly intends to call Elizabeth Loftus to the stand. Loftus is a psychological professor at the University of California, Irvine, who argues that people can be manipulated into having false memories. She's going to say that they were manipulated to say these things. Loftus has testified in several high-profile trials, including those of the O.J. Simpson and Harvey Weinstein. Meanwhile, the prosecution has already fielded its expert witnesses, psychologist Lisa Rocio, who told the jury about delayed discourse to show how underage sexual abuse victims who have been groomed may not immediately recognize their experience as abuse and sometimes do not come forward until years later. Fam, do you have anything to say about that? Because I remember we talked about this one time, because there was a lot of people who do accuse women say, well, why didn't they say anything when it happened? Do you have anything to say about that, about why it might take sometimes the abuse a little while to come to fruition and explain what happened to them?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you don't know that it was that at that time. So once it starts hitting, then you're like, okay, well, this was not, I was not cognizant enough. I was too young. I was unaware that this was what it was. And so then that's when they come forward. This happens all the time. Now, what also is true, though, which is why it's probably allowed in court, is the false memories thing. You can be, people have the natural tendency to fill in gaps of things they don't remember. So that is actually something that is true, which is why they're probably using it. But in this case, there's just too many witnesses, too many girls. So it's probably not going to hold up.
Yeah. Too much smoke to hide the fire. Just finishing up the section, I want to talk about what a dog and pony show this is, what a clown act this is that one of the main prosecutors happens to be Maureen Ryan Comey, literally FBI agent Comey's daughter. Like, it's like her job is to go after everybody who's not part of my friends, keep away from the Clintons and I mean, this is the ridiculousness of this whole situation. She was also involved in the loft video at Jeffrey Epstein's first suicide attempt. Remember when she had to come and explain this shit? It's like, oh, you know, we don't have the recording. We kind of lost it. We got the wrong one in the wrong part of the cell, whatnot. She's one of the main prosecutors in this situation. And I don't know if you can really buy that. Here's a little report from the Herald. It says, federal prosecutors have claimed that the surveillance video taken from the outside of Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell on the day of his first apparent suicide attempt has been permanently deleted. The Herald gathered that the federal prosecutors made this claim on Thursday in a court filing. Epstein, the disgraced financier who was facing federal sex trafficking charges, was found semi-conscious in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, or MCC, in New York around 1:27 a.m. on July 23rd. The prosecutor said that the video is now gone because MCC officials mistakenly saved footage from a different floor of the federal detention facility. So not only is she bad at her job and, whatnot, she also happens to be one of the daughter of an FBI agent that is very, very close to the Clinton clan, James Comey. It's laughable. But to finish that off, fam, who's the judge? Who is Allison Nathan, Ghislaine Maxwell trial judge? Okay, this is Judge Allison Nathan. And just a little thing about this, a graduate of Cornell Law School, she was appointed in 2011 to the district court by then President Barack Obama. Prior to that, she served an associate White House counsel and special assistant to Obama, and later a special counsel to New York State's Solicitor General. So I get it. If she was appointed by Obama, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but she was a special assistant to Obama. And this is the, you know what I'm saying? Obama was never mentioned on the plane or whatnot and everything, but this is the Obama clan and his friends over here. I mean, every time you just look at this case, you can say, this is friggin' ridiculous. How are people buying this shit? And they don't even understand the importance of this case, fam. This is what made me sad. This is why I didn't want to cover this stuff so much, and I almost stopped, because I know no one would be held accountable, and it would just be nothing more than a clown show when the time came, and now the time is here.
Yeah, I mean, the Comey situation, it's just laughable. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, you know, she's really good at her job. She's doing exactly what she was told to do. You don't just accidentally erase a video or forget or film something over it. That just doesn't happen at that level, at that high profile of a case. We know this. And then, of course, the judge is in place. We're not going to see the Clintons brought up. We're not going to see, any high public official of the Liberal Party brought up. They're just going to try to say, this is just Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein, and that's all we're going to do. That's all we can prove. They need fall guys. They need people to shut this case down. And they're trying to make it like this thing where, see, we're giving you everything you want. We're being transparent. But really, they have all the pieces in place to really have the outcome that they would like. So, yeah.
It's a sad situation, fam. I really think, though, the independent media should be covering this too as well. I'd like to see somebody get down there other than Natty ads. You know what I'm saying?
It's more angering to me than sad. I'm not really sad as much as I am like, it's angering, but it's also like, what do you expect? Do you expect anything better from the system we have?
Oh, no, there's a different set of rules for those up top, fam. Like you said, all these people, all of them should be called, and like I said before, like we kind of talked about earlier too, as well. Somebody even said, like, the whole Trump thing. Well, tell him to go admit that he'll be willing to take the stand. I'd like to see I'd like to see Les Wexner say that shit, or Bill Gates and everything. You know what I'm saying? They won't. They'll never, ever fucking be called to justice. Especially the connections with Bill Gates, the fact that he got money from Epstein, and the transhumanism. This is like really dark, crazy stuff that really relates to what we're going through right now, what we're going to talk about in these next couple of sections over here, fam. There are ties within this situation that are tied directly to these next 2-3 sections we're going to talk about. I mean, there are actual ties, and it won't be talked about. It'll just be swept out under the rug. They'll be like, okay, the Jeffrey Epstein situation is finished. And the left really are just blind to it in America. The American left is blind to it. It is sad. It is angrying. I get you, fam. But that's all we got on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial so far. I guess we'll pay attention and see what's going to come of it. But don't expect anything, ladies and gentlemen. This is all for show. All for show.
Awesome. So let's just get to the next section because we got 3 sections to cover before we have another show. So this is the Omicron. We're going to talk about the Omicron, and I'm just going to warn everybody, including Pasta, this isn't a time to rant against the CDC-approved vaccine. This is specifically that are safe and effective. This is a time to talk about reality versus fantasy, right? What the media, mainstream media, propaganda machine portrays, the alarmism they portray versus what's actually happening. So the Omicron virus is actually, and this is directly from South Africa, one of the countries that has been banned, travel has been banned into the United States. Several, countries in the continent of Africa have been banned from travel into the United States and by other countries because of this fear. So this is from City AM, and they say COVID silver lining, extremely mild Omicron variant is rapidly killing off much more deadly Delta coronavirus mutation. So they're actually kind of looking at the good part of this Omicron. And it said excitement is growing among coronavirus experts in Southern Africa and around the world as it increasingly seems that the new Omicron variant is rapidly replacing the much more deadly Delta mutation. Experts are so ecstatic because it seems more and more that the Omicron variant is much more contagious and dominant than Delta, but also much more milder and less deadly. Some experts are therefore even urging countries to drop restrictions and let Omicron spread, so the more infectious but less severe variant can kill off Delta quicker. The World Health Organization has said there's early evidence to suggest that Omicron has, quote, increased risk of reinfection, and its rapid spread in South Africa suggests it has growth advantage compared to Delta. Therefore, virologist Mark Van Rans pointed out that if the Omicron variant is less pathogenic, but with greater ineffectivity, allowing Omicron to replace Delta would be very positive. In fact, Omicron could turn out to be a, quote, storm in a teacup and may blow over within a few weeks, according to the former head of British government's vaccines task force. His name is Clive Dix, and he said that he is pretty calm and not really worried about the new variant, that if we look at all the facts that we know so far, none of them are heading in the direction of being a super concern. We're not seeing serious disease yet, and we're not seeing death. The picture looks like it's now a milder virus, and that's what you expect with viruses. they mutate to become more transmissible. They're not looking to be deadly because otherwise they don't get transmitted. This is what he said. And to quote him again, he said, "We are not seeing serious disease. We are not seeing death. Everything will calm down soon. Omicron won't be a big story in a few weeks' time." This is the scientists, the people in charge saying this. He also added, "I think this could be even a storm in a teacup. It could be that in 2 weeks' time, we're back to just measuring the number of people with Delta and there's less people in the hospital, and we may be at the tail of this. In fact, Omicron may turn from a curse into a blessing by diluting the severity of the disease and eventually banishing Delta." Dick stressed. And he said, this person who is a microbiologist at the NICD, Annie von Gottbergs, cautioned against linking the rise of Omicron just yet. She said, "We are seeing that there was an increase in influenza cases, but just in the last month or so. So we need to be really careful to look at the other respiratory infections. We are looking at the data very, very carefully, but at the moment, I'm not too sure that we can link it definitively to Omicron," because what they were saying is that there is more infections and hospital admissions, and that was related to Omicron. That's what the media was saying. But she's saying there is no proof that that's even necessarily the case. And then just lastly on this article, that there are criticisms from these people who have jumped into conclusions, because on Wednesday, the Transport Ministry issued a request to international airlines to stop taking new reservations for flights coming into Japan until the end of December as an emergency precaution to defend against Omicron. But this was retracted a day later after receiving criticisms from inside and outside the country. The Transport Ministry has retracted the request for a uniform stoppage on new bookings and notified airlines. Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno told reporters. Japan has reported of 2 cases of Omicron. The WHO then is now calling for an end to these travel restrictions, and they have urged countries around the world not to impose flight bans on southern African nations due to concerns over the Omicron variant. In fact, the WHO fiercely lashed out at the UK and other countries, calling their response extreme. So just out of what I read, I don't know if you guys noticed, but just out of what I read, it's obvious that they're saying that the response has been an exaggeration, that the response has been extreme, that this is absolutely uncalled for. But I just want to show real quick the response from the mainstream media in North America, the response from the mainstream media in general. We have the valuable and amazing New York Times on this Sunday, December 5th, 2021. Vaccine demand in the U.S. rises as Omicron fears grow. The Washington Post, where democracy dies in darkness every single day. How scary is Omicron? Scientists are racing to find answers. CNBC, more than half of employers to require COVID vaccines as Omicron fears grow. They don't even switch the title.
Yeah. That was CNBC, by the way, the last one. Oz, if you can throw that one up too as well.
Sorry, I'm going a little fast.
No, it's okay. It's my fault because I accidentally dropped off, hit the wrong button, and he's trying to get me back in here. But yes, fam, I like the way you said democracy dies every day. Washington Post even says,
Yeah, I'll just wait until we're back in it. But just basically the exaggeration. It should be slide 28, Oz. It's the exaggeration of the media, right? You guys can see it right there.
Yep.
And then the next one would be 29 is Reuters. You can see that they said South Korea widens vaccine pass requirements as Omicron fears rise. So this is they're acting like this Omicron is the most dangerous thing ever, when in reality, even the WHO is saying that these reactions are extreme. And I also wanted to show Walker Bragman, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. He wants us to lock down now because they said another Omicron case is detected in the US, this time in Minnesota, a resident who traveled to New York City. And he's like, and that's that. We need a lockdown now. really? You wanna call for a lockdown right now on the basis of one alarmist article from the mainstream media you say you don't trust, that you say you advocate against, yet you're just taking their word and their alarmist word? Oh, literally, you obviously didn't do the research and look at what the WHO is saying, what the science is saying, that this is actually a storm in the teacup, that these reactions have been excessive, exaggerated, that people need to stop the bans. The WHO is calling us to stop the bans, to stop the traveling restrictions. Why then is the mainstream media and every alarmist progressive journalist literally calling for lockdowns, calling for mandates, calling for some sort of draconian measures that will destroy the working class and hurt the economy that is already hurting? Costa.
Well, first off, I think we need to call him by his right name. It's independent media champion Walker Bragman thinks that we should lock down. Let's be honest and fair with the guy up there. I mean, how badly does this guy want a job on the mainstream media? He's just making it obvious, and it's ridiculous. It really, really is. But I want to digress back, fam, to the first part of this section when you were reading some of this stuff and talking about the WHO saying people were a little bit too jumpy in the situation, and how a lot of the doctors and some of the doctors in South Africa were saying that the actual symptoms are very mild. Goose told me the other day, he goes, there's a silver lining when it comes to the situation, is that if you've been, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, if you haven't gotten COVID, this would be the strain to get, because it's less deadly, it's less harmful, whatnot, and therefore it would give you robust, enduring immunity down the road. So there is a silver lining with this situation. I think it was like thunder in a teacup was kind of said before, in that situation. But that is something that we really need to talk about, because I mean, people have made the jokes before. It's like, well, damn, I just want to get Corona so then I can beat it and not have to worry about it again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, this is the situation where if that were to be true, this would be the actual variant, because this variant is found to be mild compared to what happened in the Delta.
According to the WHO, the World Health Organization, right? This variant is found to be mild. Now, we don't have confirmation on what Goose said, because we're and we're on YouTube. So let's be careful on making those assertions.
I said people have made the
yeah.
joke. People have made the joke. I've said it.
Yeah.
People have made that joke before, that I hope I get Corona, so I don't have to deal with it anymore, and therefore I can get the natural immunity that comes with it and stuff.
Right.
That's the joke that people have been made. But we cannot ignore the fact that a lot of these people are saying right now that this variant right here has been less harmful than the other ones. So that would beg the question, fam, why? Why? And I don't know if we should answer that now. Maybe we'll double back to this question and answer this when we get a chance when we're on Rokfin only. So the audience out there should do the same thing. When we get to Rokfin, answer the question, why? Why are they now jumping the gun and saying, whoa, people like Walker Bragman, we got to lock down again. That's it. That's that. Because he's not the only one, fam. As we know, the mainstream media is now going crazy, jumping out there. You get Fauci on TV. Enough is enough. We got to kick this in the butt. So we will hold on to that thought, ladies and gentlemen. We'll double back to why.
Yeah. And I just, and I'm glad that there are people like Dan Cohen who posted that tweet with the headlines, how he said, it's super mild and hasn't killed a single person, but headline writers are pumping out alarmist propaganda to justify more vaccine mandates. Corporate media is the enemy of the people. And I mean, he's absolutely right. And this is how the excessive hyperbole is what a lot of people have a problem with. Like, if you're going to talk about something, let's be real and let's talk about it like as what it is, rather than the alarmist headlines that get a lot of idiots duped into demanding unnecessary lockdowns that really hurt the working class. So well, they hurt more than the working class. We've kind of talked about that. There's a lot of people who get hurt when it comes to the lockdowns, and I just want to point out that was just Dan Cohen's opinion that we're putting out there right now as well. Fam, a lot of people are also go ahead. No, I was just saying they hurt. I mean, I don't really care if like a 1%er gets hurt. But they're not. They're making profit. They're making tons and tons of money. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Pfizer. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, how these people are getting rich off of that, right? And it hurts. And I consider even small business owners working class. So the working class includes a lot of people. So yeah, like I think, you know, when I say working class, I mean everybody that works for a living.
Fam,
You know,
you're talking about
yeah.
small businesses. You're throwing a right-wing talking point out there. OMG.
Not at all. Not at all.
By the way, there are people on YouTube right now that just joined in. The Tras is there, Steve Woolbrand. We love you guys. They said a lot of people didn't get the notice. And a lot of people are not getting the notices. And, you know, people are kind of catching them up to speed that we covered the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Now we're moving on to the Omicron, which is the third movie of the Decepticons, which is the Transformers series. And yeah, we're just having fun with it, guys. Now is the time to hit the like button, hit the share button, get it out there. Now's the time to get over to Rokfin. We do have one more section before we'll get there, but we want to get you there eventually. We're going to pause on the question of why they are jumping the gun and saying that the Omicron is something to really pay attention to. Fee just broke it down beautifully from what was in the mainstream media. You know, the champions of the independent media news and people like Walker Bragman and what they're saying with their own words and stuff like that. We don't even have to give our opinions. They're actually, you know, spelling it out for us. So we'll get to why eventually, and we'll have a little more conversations when we get on over to Rokfin. But thank you very much, guys, for joining on in. A like, share, subscribe. Like you guys just said on their thread over there, nobody got the notice. A lot of people aren't getting the notices. You know what I'm saying? We just did this work down in the Central America, covering different types of elections out there. So, of course, you know, Fee's Twitter got pulled the day before we were supposed to go to Honduras. So, of course, they want to keep our mouths sealed and our lips silent. So, we need your help out there. Please share it everywhere, wherever you can, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, get the news out. Let them know the British are coming. Here comes Paul Revere. Fam, third section. Take it away.
All right. So we're going to talk about just how much money Pfizer and Moderna shareholders literally just made off the Omicron virus, because we just talked about how the media has portrayed the Omicron virus as this alarmist thing that now we have to ban travel restrictions from all these African countries and how we have to have these measures. And then you have people like Walker Bragman demanding lockdowns, even though it's a milder, strain. They're creating a storm in a teacup. It's unnecessary. The WHO, the World Health Organization, is demanding us to stop. Well, now let's look at how much money in just 10 days Pfizer and Moderna shareholders made. So they have pocketed in euros about 7.8 billion in a week after Omicron was discovered, which comes out to about $10 billion. And just this is, of course, from the Daily Mail, I believe. And I'm just going to go over some key points, because the Moderna CEO, Stéphane Bancel, saw stocks increase by 623 million. I think that's pounds, actually. So top shareholders and bosses at Pfizer and Moderna made 3.9 billion each. Campaigners slammed companies for creating the conditions for new variants. And these are the top shareholders, and combined, like I said, it's $10 billion in stocks growth just 1 week, actually, less than 10 days, 1 week after they discovered the Omicron virus. And their shares, right, rose by 7.4% and 13.6% respectively in the 7 days leading up to November 30th, after South Africa alerted the world that the mutant strain was there on November 24th. So quickly you can see that between the 8 of them, they made about $10 billion in American dollars. Moderna chief executive Stephen Bancel pocketed $824 million in share growth alone and sold 10,000 of his own stocks for $319 each on November 26th, equaling a total of $3.19 million upfront. And some of these experts have blamed Britain and other Western countries for the emergence of the variant because they did not share sufficient spare vaccine doses for the rest of the world. And this is the part I want to discuss with the left, right? Because again, Pasta, I'm bringing it up again. A lot of the left says, oh, they're terrible. The rich are only getting vaccines. They're not sharing with the rest of the world. Yeah. And so they're getting slammed for this vaccine inequality that they're helping create. But the former Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, last week claimed rich nations not sharing vaccines with the rest of the world is now coming back to haunt us with the emergence of these variants. Yet other experts suggested low vaccination rates in South Africa are more down to vaccine hesitancy. stifling demand so much that it's had to delay delivery of dose rather than a lack of supply. Like I said before, they don't want your vaccines. These African nations are hesitant with the vaccines. So have many South American nations been hesitant. I don't know. We can discuss why later on Rokfin Only. But I will say that it's not because these people kept it from them. There's a business to be made. Of course, these people are going to want to make profit. They're going to make it seem like it's scarce. So that's what they've been doing. But it's not just that people can't have access to them. It's that people don't want them. And South Africa's Deputy Director General of the Department of Health, Dr. Nicholas Chris, said that the country has plenty of vaccine and capacity, but hesitancy is a challenge. So they're telling you straight up right there that it's not that there is a vaccine apartheid, that people are keeping these vaccines from them. No, they have plenty of vaccines. People just aren't taking them. And this is from the word of mouth from the people in these countries. So please, can the left stop?
Yeah, it's a weak argument anyways.
That,
yeah.
Oh, it's because we were not providing. No. A lot of indigenous populations, Black Americans, and people from third world countries use other methods, and they do not necessarily want vaccines. Now, we can discuss later on why that is, but that is a fact that has been named multiple times. So enough with that argument, okay? If you want to say anything on that before I move on.
Well, no, I just say it's a weak argument to say that, to say, well, if these vaccines don't work, then why are we just denying them from smaller countries that really need them and stuff? Why only the rich taking them? That's just a dumb argument because we'll save it for Rokfin.
Yeah, okay.
We'll save it for Rokfin.
We'll save it for Rokfin. So the last few things I want to show on this section that's going to go on YouTube is who made the most money after the emergence of Omicron out of Pfizer shareholders. So here are the Pfizer shareholders. You can see Vanguard Group Inc., BlackRock, State Street Corp, Capital World Investors. You can see what they made in pounds. This is, which is a lot more in dollars if you do the exchange. And then you can see CEO Albert Bourla. You can see how much they made, a total of 3.9 billion. And of course, these are familiar friends, right? Vanguard Group, BlackRock. These people are involved in everything. And they also have ties to none other than Bill Gates, which I didn't even have time to put in the folder this time because those ties go deep. And now this is the Moderna, right? The Moderna shareholders, Bailey Gifford and Company, Vanguard Group Inc. again, BlackRock Incorporated, flagship pioneering, Stefane Bancel, which is the CEO, and total 3.9 billion. So these people have gotten rich just in a week after this whole thing began. And I just want to point that out. If people are getting rich off of this, because somebody was like, saying like how it's I'm pro-capitalist for not wanting mandates, which makes zero sense whatsoever. But these people are getting rich. There is a for-profit motive here to push for this, right? And so you have to think of those things in terms of, you can't separate that. This doesn't exist. Vaccines don't exist in a vacuum. Big Pharma doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's people, powerful people connected to making money off of this whole thing. So COVID doesn't exist in a vacuum. So you can't just ignore that so it can fit in your little fucking progressive narrative just because you want to feel good about saying the vaccines are safe and effective because that's what the CDC says. There is more to, okay, fine. Even if I were to say that was true, there is a profit motive behind all this, and you can't ignore that and pretend that doesn't have any say. It would be like ignoring your favorite politician taking dark money, Jen, and just because you believe that they're a good person. That's what a lot of the progressives are doing, and it's got to stop. So
yeah, and they invite them in through the front door. The whole thing that your defense against vampires are voided if you invite them in yourself, and they keep inviting these vampires in, and all you have to do, fam, is follow the money. You said it right there. You show it in black and white, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that there's so much censorship going on and there's discussions about other alternatives, it should make alarms go off in your head. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why people are being censored and shut down.
Yeah.
And so these guys right here, that list of all those people you just showed right there, can make millions of billions of dollars. And at the end of the day, they'll make trillions of dollars. And they don't really, not for nothing. I think the history of Big Pharma has showed us that they really don't care for human beings, whether it be the mesothelioma from Johnson & Johnson, whether it be manipulating information by Pfizer. I mean, the list goes on, blood clots from these. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And the sad thing is that these were the lobbyists and the people that progressives were railing against going back 6 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It was all about these people in particular. And now they're carrying water for them. And it really is sad.
Exactly. All right, guys. So we're going to read some Super Rays, and then we're going to go straight to Rokfin only for this next section. And you should definitely watch this next section because it's a really great video at the end that all of you should watch.
We're going to start with the first question, too, once we jump in there, is why? Why with the Omicron are they banning flights and traveling and then pushing for more vaccines and boosters? Why with the Omicron? That will be the first question we answer. Why don't you guys put your answer up right now on the Rokfin if you can? We're going to go over there. Lehua Ludlow, fam, says, power to the people, keep kicking ass. Thank you so much, Lehua. We appreciate the Super AA contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch. And thank you to all the people over on the YouTubes. Right now will be the time to get on over to Rokfin. That's Rokfin. I think I've mentioned a million times, guys. Thank you so much for everybody who hit up the GoFundMe for our trip to Central America to cover those very important elections. It was some of the most just amazing moments of my particular life. You know what I'm saying? Just going there and seeing all this stuff in person, what great election systems they have in there. Because really, to tell you the truth, it's all about kissing it. Keep it simple, stupid. This isn't rocket science. But here in America, they clout you so much and they confuse everything. So they think that you need these things with your elections when you can just go back to the basics and keep it simple and have a fair, honest, transparent election. So thank you for all of those people who did that. Thank you to all the Patreons who've been showing your love. We love you all. You can always hit up our PayPal. There was a lot of people who hit the PayPal up. Thank you to all of you folks who do that for us. It really means the world to us. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So go on over to the Rokfin, Rokfin, and let's answer that question of why. Why with the new Decepticon, fam, are they going cray-cray? When they're showing from the WHO, the people who, are the ones in charge, supposedly, that this was a mild variant when it comes to the symptoms. So get on over to Rokfin. We'll see you later. YouTube out.
All right, and just let us know. With him right now because I have the phone up there and the computer.
Me too.
So, Oz, if you can just send him a message and see if we're good.